Okay, let's do a series of problems rounding whole numbers. So, so the first thing we want to do is we want to figure out what they mean by the nearest hundred. And if we remember, like place value, um, so um, we have the, let's see, let's draw a number here. Okay, so this would be the ones, right? And this would be the tens, and this would be the hundreds, and this would be the thousands, right? 10,000s, 100,000, and this would be the millions, right? So if they say round a number to the nearest hundred, then all you have to do is first let's mark the digit that is the nearest hundred. So we'll mark the 100. That's the 100, right? And then afterwards we have two digits, which is the tens and the ones. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to figure out what this number is going to be, because this is the only one that's really going to require any thinking. It's going to be either the number that's there or the next higher number. Okay, so as long as it's not a 9, it's not very tricky. So like it's a 5, so that means it could be either 5 or it could be a 6. And to know if it's a 5 or 6, we're going to look at the next number, and the next number is a 7. So 7 is 5 or higher, so that means that we're going to choose the higher number. Okay, if it was like a 4, which is less than 5, then we would choose the 5. But since it's higher than a 5, we're going to choose the 6. Okay, so this number that we needed to think about is going to be a 6, and the numbers to the left are going to stay the same. Okay, and the numbers afterwards are going to all turn into 0. All right, so that was not too hard. It was, the answer is 41,600. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, so now we're doing 78,416, and we're going to do to the nearest thousand. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to mark the thousand digit, which is going to be 8. So we need to figure out if 8 is going to stay 8 or if it's going to be 9. Okay, it's one of those two possibilities. And the way we know it's going to be 8 or 9 is we look at the next number. Okay, and we see if it's above 5 or below 5. And since it's below 5, we know that we're going to choose the lower of these two numbers. So the first number stays, 7. Then between 8 and 9, we know that it's going to be 8 because 4 is less than 5. And then the rest, we keep 0. Okay? So the 416 becomes 0. The 8 stays 8. And the 7 stays 7. Okay, so the answer is 78,000. Okay. Okay, the nearest hundred again. So first we write the number, 29,753. The nearest hundred. So the number we need to figure out if it's going to change or not is the 7. Okay, so it's either going to be 7 or 8. Okay, and is it going to be 7 or 8? Well, let's look at the next number, which is a 5, to see if it's going to be 7 or 8. Well, 5 is 5 or higher, so that means it's going to be the bigger number, 8. Okay, and then the numbers to the left stay the same, 29. The numbers to the right are going to all change to 0. Okay, so the answer here is going to be 29,800. Okay, now we're going to have 12,478 to the nearest 1,000. So the nearest 1,000, the 1,000 digit is that number. So it's either going to be 2 is going to be either 2 or 3. And the way we choose between those two is we look at the 4. Okay, is the 4 less than 5 or is it 5 or higher? It's less than 5, so that means we're going to choose 2. Okay, so the left number is going to stay the same. This one's going to stay 2, and then the rest of it's going to be 0. Okay, so the answer is 12,000. Okay. So now we're going to take 58,291 and we're going to round it to the nearest thousand. The thousand digit is this one. Okay, so the thousand digit is either going to be 8 or it's going to be 9. And so we're going to figure out which one it's going to be looking at the 2. Okay, so the 2 is smaller than 5, so it's going to be the smaller of the 2, right? So 5, 8, and the 291 is just going to become 0. Okay, so 58,000. 58000. Okay, 19,524, and we're going to round it to the nearest thousand. So first we look at that digit. This digit is going to either be a 9 or it's going to be a 0. And this is kind of a tricky one because if this turns into a 0, then that's going to affect the digit to the left, right? Because 19,000 is either going to stay 19,000 or it's going to become 20,000. Okay, so let's check to see if this is going to stay 9 or become 0. And if it does become 0, then the left digit is also going to change. So the number that's going to determine whether the 9 is going to change to a 0 is the right digit 5. And 5 is 5 or higher, so that means it's going to turn into the bigger number, which is going to be the 0, or the next number, not really bigger. So instead of 19, we're going to have 20 now. So the 19 changed to a 20, and then the rest of it is going to stay 0. Okay, so the answer is going to be 20,000. Okay. All right, now we have 83,641, and we're going to round to the nearest hundred. Okay, so we're going to look at the next digit to see if the 6 is going to stay 6 or change to 7. Well, 4 is less than 5, so that means 6 is going to stay 6, not going to go to 7. Okay, and the left digits are going to stay the same, and the right digits are going to change to 0. Remember that the only reason why the left digits would change is if you were changing a 9 to a 0, and then that would start affecting the left digits. Okay, so the answer to 83,600. Okay, now we're going to do 47,659, and we're going to round it to the nearest hundred. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to mark the 100 digit. Okay, and so what's going to determine whether the 6 stays 6 or goes to 7? That's going to be the 5 here. So 5 is 5 or higher, so that means it's going to make the 6 go to the next number, which is 7. Okay, and the left numbers are going to stay the same, 47. The right numbers are going to turn to 0. Okay, so the answer is 47,700. Now remember, all this time, remember that the comma here is the thousand separator. It's not a decimal point, so be careful with that. On Khan Academy, just as on IB, we want to make sure that the decimal point is a period and the thousand separator is a comma. Okay, so that was 8 problems. Thank you.